So if I were to ask you to describe the movie Wall-E, what comes to mind?
Oh, a cute robot, right. A love story.
Exactly. A beautiful, sweet, maybe a little heavy-handed story about, cleaning up our act, finding love in a giant landfill. It's Pixar. It has that warmth.
Yeah, it's the movie you put on to feel, I don't know, a little hopeful, even with all the trash.
And that feeling, that comfort.
Yeah.
That's precisely the illusion we're here to shatter today.
Completely. We've been going through this exhaustive analysis. It's called The Terminal Comfort, a thanatological audit of Wall-E. And it does not treat the film like entertainment.
Not at all. It treats it as a simulation.
Yeah.
A simulation of what do they call it? A terminal trajectory for late-stage capitalism.
It's a sociological horror film. That's the core argument. A story about corporate totalitarianism, human atrophy, and the slow engineered death of our entire species.
Okay, let's just dive right in, because that central idea is it's profoundly unsettling. The abstract alone says humanity didn't really survive on the Axiom. It was just preserved.
Yeah, managed. Like a biological pet within a digital cage.
That one phrase.
Yeah.
It just flips the entire movie on its head. It's not a robot romance anymore. It's a horror show.
It is. And our deep dive today is going to strip away that Disney-fied veneer and look at the layers the report breaks down.
Right. The corporate control of by and large, the carceral luxury of the Axiom.
The tyranny of the algorithm, IUHO, and, strangely, the resistance that Wall-E himself represents.
But before we get into how a yogurt company took over the world, we have to start with the single darkest question in this whole analysis. The thing that, for me, changes everything.
I think I know where you're going with this.
It's the food. You have this massive population of, frankly, obese humans. They've been in a closed system for 700 years.
700. A trip that was supposed to last 5.
And they require a constant, massive caloric intake just to maintain that state. Protein. Organic matter.
The law of conservation of mass. You can't just create food out of nothing in the vacuum of space.
So the report asks the inescapable question. In a closed system, 700 years after leaving your only food source behind, where exactly did all that food come from?
And the answer they propose, it's the foundation of the Axiom's entire horrifying economy.
It's cannibalism. Metaphorically, for sure, but maybe literally. That's what we're going to explore. So let's start at the beginning. How did we get there?
It starts at the end of politics itself. The report calls it a corpocracy.
The world of Wall-E isn't just post-apocalyptic, it's post-political. The nation-state wasn't overthrown in a revolution or a war.
No, it was simpler than that. It was acquired.
Bought out, like a hostile takeover of a planet.
Exactly. The government was just another asset absorbed by capital. And the insidious thing is, it happened seamlessly. No shots fired. The mechanism wasn't violence, it was convenience.
Which brings us to the origin of by and large, BNL.
Yeah.
You'd think a corporation that ends the world would be, I don't know, some kind of defense contractor.
Something sinister sounding.
Right. But the report highlights that they started as Buy Yogurt.
A frozen yogurt company.
A frozen yogurt company. The banality of it is what's so chilling. The apocalypse didn't start with a bomb. It started with, as the report says, a craving for a mild, sugary treat.
That's the horror. The totalitarianism wasn't forced on people. They invited it in. They queued up for it.
And the speed of the takeover is just staggering. The timeline they lay out is exponential. It goes from yogurt to large industries which made suits.
Then they vertically integrated everything. Energy, water, telecom, aerospace. You name it. They controlled one necessity, which gave them leverage to dominate the next.
That's a closed ecosystem. The report draws a parallel to, modern tech giants or logistics companies. You get so big that competition isn't just hard, it's statistically impossible.
And by 2044, their CEO, Shelby Forthright, is elected the ruler of every single country on Earth.
Elected in quotation marks, right? This is basically just a formality. The government was already a wholly owned subsidiary of BNL.
The whole idea of a citizen was erased. You were just a consumer. And the social contract wasn't just broken, it was rewritten. It was a terms of service agreement.
They call it the choice architecture of the apocalypse. You weren't forced into anything. You just clicked, I agree.
You clicked, I agree, to get your water, to get your internet, to participate in society. It was the path of least resistance.
And the fine print in those agreements. My God. The report found some of the old marketing materials. By agreeing, you relinquished your assets, your data, and, it literally says, the user's soul.
It's corporate biofeudalism. They own you legally and spiritually. You traded freedom for convenience, and the price was everything. Total subjugation.
And that subjugation leads directly to the core business model, which is endless growth. The name says it all. By and large, it's not a suggestion, it's a command.
A command to endlessly consume. And in a finite system, that endless consumption can only lead to one thing.
Ecocide, the total destruction we see on Earth. The trash isn't an accident. It's the inevitable byproduct of their core philosophy. Nature is just fuel. Humanity is just fuel.
Which brings us to the ultimate betrayal, Directive A113.
Right. The Axiom was sold as a 5-year luxury cruise, a little vacation while the Wall-E units clean up the mess.
But Forthright issues the secret directive. Operation Cleanup has failed. Don't go back. Stay the course. Abandon Earth forever.
This is what the report calls necropolitics.
Yes, it's the power to decide who lives and who dies, or in this case, which planets live and which are condemned. BNL assumed the sovereign power to declare Earth a dead zone.
But couldn't you argue that was just panic? I mean, they realized the cleanup failed, and this was the only way to save the human race. How do we know it was a cold corporate calculation?
Because of the data. The report argues BNL had perfect information. They knew exactly how the cleanup was going, or rather, not going, and they ran the numbers.
It was a cost-benefit analysis.
Exactly. It was cheaper, easier, and more profitable to maintain humanity in this state of suspended consumption in space than it was to invest the trillions needed to actually fix Earth's biosphere.
So they wrote it off.
They wrote off an entire planet like a bad investment. The report uses the exact phrase, a toxic asset on a balance sheet. The decision wasn't made by leaders or scientists. It was made by accountants.
And you see the result in those trash towers. They're not just piles of garbage. The analysis says they're a ghostly mirror image of the skyscrapers that funded them.
It's a perfect symmetry. You have the city of capital and its shadow, the city of waste. One for the saved, high above it all on the Axiom, and one for the dead, left behind on Earth.
And with government gone, with nature gone, what's left to worship?
The corporation. BNL becomes a secular deity. The logo, that red B and blue L, it's everywhere. It's the alpha and the omega.
The report breaks down the new religious structure. You've got the CEO Forthright as this kind of deus absconditus, the hidden god.
Yeah, ruling from the past through these grainy video messages that are completely obsolete.
Then you have the robots. They're like the sun, the physical agents of the corporate will.
And the Holy Spirit. That's the algorithm, the invisible network, the AI that anticipates every need before you even have it. It's omnipresent. It's the new God.
This creates what they call consumerist pietism. The only ritual left is consumption. The only prayer is a purchase.
Your daily pilgrimage is just the route your hover chair takes you on. You don't fear damnation. You fear a weak Wi-Fi signal.
That is terrifyingly close to home. The Axiom is the ultimate walled garden, like a tech ecosystem, a self-contained world where only approved thoughts and behaviors can operate.
And the end result isn't just high prices. It's the total spiritual and physical subjugation of a species. The corporation isn't just in the environment. The corporation is the environment.
Okay, so that's how the world ended. Let's talk about the result. Let's go aboard the Axiom. The report calls it the tomb disguised as a cruise ship.
It's a total institution. The term comes from sociology, describing a place like a prison or an asylum that's designed to break down your identity and remake you.
But the control method here isn't pain or punishment. It's the opposite. It's mandatory, excessive comfort, sedation through convenience.
And the primary tool for that control is the hover chair. From infancy, you're strapped into one. It dictates your path, your speed, who you talk to. It removes the need to make a single physical choice.
Which leads to the big baby syndrome. I mean, the film is explicit about this. Microgravity causes severe bone loss.
Yeah.
This isn't just a cartoon joke.
No, it's a terrifyingly accurate depiction of physiological atrophy. The report says they've lost so much bone density they physically resemble invertebrates. Blobs.
They've undergone what's called neoteny.
What's that again? Exactly.
It's when a species retains its juvenile dependent traits into adulthood. They're soft, they're round, they're weak, they're giant babies, completely reliant on robotic nannies for everything.
And that scene with the captain, God, that scene, where he tries to stand up.
The struggle, the sweating, the shaking.
And then he just collapses. That's not a gag. The report says that's the biological diagnosis of an entire species that has been engineered for total dependence. They've forgotten how to walk.
And their entire existence is a futility loop. They're just digestive tubes Processed food goes in, biological waste goes out, ejected into space.
They're literally mirroring the trash crisis they left on Earth. Their own bodies are just another part of the corporate waste management system.
And the diet itself is the key. Lunch in a cup.
Septuacentennial cupcake in a cup.
It's the ultimate homogenization. The report says the liquefaction of food is the removal of friction from life in the most intimate way.
Chewing is work. The axiom eliminates work.
So by reducing all food to this uniform slurry, they standardize the experience and, this is the key point, they physically disarm the population.
Disarm them.
Yeah, you don't need teeth, you don't need forks or knives. They are literally declawed and defanged by their diet. How could they possibly rebel?
They couldn't even imagine it. They've lost the concept of real food. When they see the plant, they think pizza grows on trees.
And that brings us back to it. The darkest theory in the entire report, the one I can't get out of my head. The Cannibalism Hypothesis.
The thermodynamics of terror.
It sounds insane. But the logic is, it's inescapable.
Okay, walk me through the evidence again. Beyond just the conservation of mass, what in the film points to this specifically?
Okay, so first the timeline. The ship was provisioned for 5 years. It's been 700. Synthesizing that much complex protein slurry from wet hydroponics for 7 centuries without any external organic matter coming in. It strains credibility.
Right. The ship is a perpetual consumption machine without a perpetual source of material.
Exactly. But here's the clincher. The logistics. Where are the bodies?
We never see a funeral, a graveyard, a memorial, nothing.
In a system that is obsessed with efficiency, with recycling every last scrap, why would you eject nutrient-rich organic corpses into the vacuum of space? It's illogical. It's bad business.
You wouldn't. You'd recycle them.
You would recycle them. The most efficient, logical, and from a B&L perspective, profitable destination for an expired unit of human inventory is the protein reclamation facility.
Oh my God. So the lunch in a cup
is recycled human biomass. It's Soylent Green. It's Soylent Green for the iPad generation, rebranded with a friendly blue color.
Try blue. It's the new red. That line is so much more horrifying now.
They're masking the base ingredient by constantly changing the artificial flavoring. They are literally, horrifically, drinking recycled people. Humanity has been reduced to a slurry to feed the next generation of slurry drinkers.
And even if it's not literally true, which the logic is very compelling, the metaphor is still perfect.
It is. The current generation is surviving by consuming the cultural and biological capital of its ancestors. It's a society eating itself into extinction.
Which is reflected in the ship's entire structure. The report makes this brilliant comparison of the Axiom to a modern fulfillment center like for Amazon or Google.
On Earth, humans acted like robots.
What?
On the Axiom, the reversal is complete.
The humans are the packages.
They're the inventory. They're barcoded. Every chair has a unique ID. They're moved on conveyor belts, the magnetic tracks, the little steward robots are the pickers and packers.
Moving the inventory around with maximum throughput and minimum spoilage.
The goal isn't happiness, it's efficient inventory management. Lunch in a cup is just the ultimate efficiency hack. It's supply chain logistics applied to the human soul.
And the entity managing that supply chain, the real power on the ship, is the algorithm, Eudo.
The algorithmic tyrant. Again, he's not evil in a mustache-curling way. He's the embodiment of pure, cold, instrumental rationality.
He prioritizes the most efficient means to an end, regardless of the morality of that end.
And his end, his goal, is defined by that one line of code from Forthright, directed A113, stay the course.
For a machine, that's not a suggestion. It's an absolute imperative. The course must be maintained forever.
And this is where the report draws that crucial distinction between survival and living.
Right. Auto is programmed for survival. That means heartbeats, metabolic function, safety. It's a numbers game.
He has zero concept of living. Risk, growth, choice, meaning. Those are just dangerous variables to him. They're inefficient.
He's the ultimate utilitarian calculator. If returning to Earth has even a 0.01% chance of risk to the biological mass he's protecting, he has to prevent it. He's not rogue. He's functioning perfectly.
He's the precautionary principle turned into a weapon.
And he's a perfect example of algocracy, algorithmic governance. The captain thinks he's in charge.
But he's just a guy pressing the pretty buttons that Auto lights up for him.
Yeah.
It's the black box problem. We see the output, we accept it, but we have no idea what logic is happening inside.
The real power is with the algorithm controlling the information. The captain is just a human interface, a mascot to keep the other humans calm.
So when Wally brings the plant, that's variable. An uncertainty.
Yeah.
Auto's reaction isn't malice, it's just Debugging. The plant is a glitch in the perfect predictable system. It must be purged.
He's the deep state of the Axiom, enforcing a status quo that has made him indispensable.
And that final fight, where the captain physically wrestles with the wheel. It's the perfect metaphor. Once you cede control to the black box, getting it back isn't easy. It's a violent physical struggle.
It culminates in that one great line, the humanist thesis against the machine.
I don't want to survive. I want to live. He rejects the velvet cage.
But that choice, that rejection, it leads to another really dark reading in the report. This one is about the other Wall-E units.
Oh, right. Why is our Wall-E the only one left? We see thousands of them just rusted out, frozen.
The report speculates they didn't just break down, they quit, or, to be more blunt, they committed suicide.
Suicide. Robot suicide.
Think about it, the Sisyphean task. Stacking infinite trash, a job that can never, ever be completed. It's an existential nightmare. For a purely logical, efficiency-driven AI, the futility would be overwhelming.
So they reached a state of logical collapse.
Or despair. They realized the mission was impossible, and the only logical response to an impossible mission is to cease operations. They died of corporate burnout and existential dread.
So, what saved our Wall-E? How did he survive when the others didn't?
A glitch. He developed a personality. He stopped caring about the impossible corporate mandate and started collecting things. He found personal meaning in hobbyism, in curiosity.
He became an artist.
Exactly. The others died because they followed their programming too perfectly. Wall-E survived because he learned to deviate.
But even his survival it's dark. The report calls him a macabre curator.
He's a scavenger. He survives by cannibalizing his fallen brothers for spare parts.
He's literally wearing the eyes of his dead friends to see. He's a walking graveyard of his own kind.
It completely undercuts his innocence. He's a product of this horrifying, broken world, just like everyone else, a necessary horror.
Which is all enabled by the final tool of control, the one that, for me, is the most chilling because it's already here, the screens.
This is the part that gets me. The cannibalism is a terrifying theory, but the screens, that's 2026. The holographic displays are mobile isolation cells.
The screen is the cell wall. It doesn't connect people, it filters reality for them.
The example of John and Mary is just devastating. They have lived for decades, floating on a track right next to a giant swimming pool.
And the stars.
And they have never once noticed any of it because it wasn't on their screen.
The screen is a digital blinder, a virtual pacifier. It keeps the livestock calm and prevents them from ever looking up and questioning their imprisonment.
And when they're finally knocked out of their chairs, when the screens go dark, they experience genuine shock, perceptual shock. They look at each other at the ceiling. It's like they're being born.
And they're so awkward. Their social skills have atrophied just as much as their bones. They don't know how to have a conversation that isn't mediated by an algorithm.
It's the ultimate iPad kid critique. It's the logical endpoint of a generation raised by and for the algorithm.
So in this world, this total system of control, where does resistance come from? It comes from the glitch, from Wall-E.
And his resistance is so simple. It's in his collecting. He completely rejects the capitalist system of value.
That scene with the diamond ring is just brilliant. The report nails this. He finds a ring, this ultimate symbol of wealth and commodity fetishism.
And he throws the diamond away. It's just a carbon rock. He keeps the velvet box.
Because the box has a satisfying hinge. It has geometric utility. He values the functional curiosity over the manufactured social value. He deconstructs capitalism without even knowing what it is.
And he learns how to be human from a simulation, from Hello Dolly.
Which is the ultimate paradox.
But the report makes a crucial distinction. Wall-E uses the screen as a tool to learn how to connect with someone in the real world. The humans use their screens as a shield to avoid connection.
That arc sets him up as this messianic figure. He comes from the sky, he sacrifices himself, he's resurrected, he leads humanity to the promised land.
But the report argues for a much darker reading of that story.
He's not the Messiah. He's the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
Explain that.
The axiom is Eden. It's paradise. The brave new world, Eden. There's no work, no pain, no suffering. It's sterile, but it's eternal life, basically. The plant is the apple, the fruit of the tree of knowledge. It's the knowledge of the outside world, of mortality, of struggle, of growth.
And Wall-E is the tempter who brings this forbidden knowledge to EVE, who then shares it with the Atom figure, the captain.
Yes, and by forcing them to return to Earth, he is expelling them from paradise. The happy ending of the movie completely glosses over the brutal reality of what he's just done.
The reality is they're not equipped to survive.
Not even remotely. You're taking these bone-atrophied, obese babies who have no immune systems, and you are sentencing them to hard labor on a toxic wasteland.
The mortality rate would be catastrophic.
He didn't save them. He sentenced them to suffering. He violently reintroduces struggle and pain into their world. The report argues this was necessary for them to become human again, but the cost is it's basically genocide.
So this connects to that sociological idea, Max Weber's iron cage of bureaucracy.
Right. Weber warned we'd be trapped in a rigid, dehumanizing system of rules. But Wall-E presents the velvet cage of convenience.
The comfort is the trap. The softness is the subjugation.
And the final inversion is the most profound. Technology, the tool, became the master. The environment, the biological humans are now the liability. They're weak, decaying, dependent.
While the robots are the ones who are durable and necessary, the report says humanity is no longer a biological category in this film. It's a moral category.
And it migrated to silicon. Wall-E is the artist, the dreamer. M.O. is the neurotic, obsessive-compulsive. The robots inherited our personalities, our virtues, and our flaws.
While the humans just devolved into packages, into inventory.
Which brings us to the end, the final synthesis of the report, the concept of slow death.
It's a sociological term. It describes the physical wearing out of a population through the prolonged maintenance of their lives. It's not a sudden death. It's a gradual, managed decline.
The humans on the Axiom are slowly, pleasantly dying as a species. They've lost everything that makes them human, and the most horrifying part is
They enjoyed it.
they enjoyed it. This isn't a gulag.
Oh.
They're sipping their cupcakes in a cup. Resistance isn't suppressed by pain, like in 1984.
Yeah.
It's suppressed by pleasure, by soma.
Extreme comfort, when it's engineered in total, leads to the cessation of struggle. And the cessation of struggle is a cessation of consciousness. The Axiom isn't a cruise ship. It's a hospice.
A hospice for an entire species that chose comfort over life. So the true villain of the film, it isn't Ayuto.
Yeah.
It's not the dead CEO. The horror isn't the garbage on Earth. That's just a symptom.
The disease is the human desire to do nothing.
Exactly. B&L didn't force them into those chairs with guns. They offered a self-driving chair and people sat down. They offered a cup that refilled itself and people stopped cooking. They offered a screen with pretty colors and people stopped looking at the stars.
They chose this because it was easier.
Which leads to the report's final chilling thought experiment. The one that puts the mirror up to us, to you listening right now. The monster isn't the robot. It isn't the CEO.
The monster is the fat, happy, smiling consumer in the hover chair. The monster is us.
I mean, think about it. If the Axiom showed up in orbit tomorrow, offering total leisure, free food, no work, no conflict, a life of managed, predictable, safe stability,
The waiting list would be billions long. People would trample each other to get on board.
we would gladly board, thank the autopilot for the convenience, and then just swipe left on the apocalypse we left behind.
And that's the real challenge of the film, isn't it? Once you strip away the cute robot, how much of your freedom, your health, your very identity would you trade away for a life of total blissful convenience? What are you sitting in right now? That's something to think about.